Hi everyone, so today we're going to be talking about operant conditioning and learning. So what exactly is operant conditioning? Well, it's where the subject operates on the environment to produce an outcome. There's a couple of things that influence this. You have reinforcements, which increase the probability of that behavior, and punishments, which decrease the probability of a behavior. So a guy named Thorndike put this cat in a box, and he just kind of observed it and realized that once it figured out how to get out, its behavior was reinforced and it could do it faster. There's a couple types of reinforcement and punishments. Punishments usually cause pain. Reinforcers, positive, presenting something such as food, or negative, or avoidance learning. You avoid something such as pain. And here's just a picture to kind of show you again. A couple of examples. We have punishment, like taking away candy from a misbehaving child or swatting your dog for chewing up the couch. Positive reinforcement, if you get a good grade on your test, your GPA goes up, you kind of want to do that again. And negative reinforcement, if you go to the doctor, he'll fix your broken wrist. So schedules of reinforcement have fixed ratio, so reinforcement only occurs after a certain number of correct responses. So if you give your dog a treat after it sits 2 times. Variable, reinforcement occurs after variable time, like correct response like gambling. Fixed interval reinforcement for the first response after a certain time, like showing up for class, or a variable interval reinforcement after variable time, like fishing. Here's a picture again to kind of just show you guys what they look like. So defining intelligence, we have the psychometric approach, the measurement of individual differences. This is G, so G is your general ability to learn, and S is your specific abilities. So an example is a student who does well in one course usually does well in math, or in others like math and science. And multiple intelligence, unrelated forms of intelligence, like people are better at one area and not so good at the others. Like a band student is generally not very athletic, and vice versa. So here's a couple of IQ tests. The Stanford Binet one is the one most commonly seen. Here we have the distribution, and progressive matrices are culture reduced. So individual differences. Do family members have similar IQ scores? Yes and no. Genetics play a large part in this. So if you're closer to each other, share more genetics, your IQs are going to be close together. Like me and my brother have relatively the same intelligence level and do relatively the same in school because our genes are shared. But it also depends on many genes and like environmental factors like poor nutrition. So things like that. Standardization, so this is the process of establishing rules for administering a test. Reliability is repeatability of test scores, so if you score high on one math test, you'll score high on a similar one. Validity is how well a test measures what it claims to measure, so a math test should measure one's math ability. Bias test overstates or understates true performance of one or more groups, so on a test, question asked to identify a part of a car. The women who take it usually do worse on this question because it's kind of geared towards men. And lastly, stereotype threat, people's risk of performing poorly and thereby supporting unfavorable stereotypes about their groups. So, for example, black students tend to do worse on SAT tests because they fear their scores will influence more prejudice about the black population. So thanks for listening.